What is going on, you lovely ladies and gentlemen of the world? The long-awaited day has finally arrived. They finally posted a KOUMA match video. They waited until the final character to be revealed. I guess they wanted KOUMA to, I don't know if there's any story significance, but to actually come to think of it, I'll talk about this in a second, actually, because firstly and foremostly, y'all know what I got to do first. Melty Blood, you got 5 days left. You got 5 days left to run a pre-release stress test of your online functionality. Please get to that. SNK, you have a hell of a lot longer. Y'all definitely need to do that for reasons I have mentioned in exasperating detail. So I'm not going to go into it further. But yeah, so, kaboom, Melty Blood. They finally announced the final character, 12 characters confirmed to be in the game. I don't know why they didn't just say, yo, we got a baker's dozen over here right out the gate instead of saying more than 10. That was kind of weird. But also at the same time, that conspiracy theory part of my brain, the tinfoil wrapped part of my brain is out here thinking, what if there's a secret story character to be unlocked, right? That's why they're not committing to a specific amount, because they can't say, if they say, oh, there's only 12 characters in the game, then there's only 12 characters in the game, right? That possibility is not there. On the same token, if they say over 10, that means it could be 11, it could be 12, it could be 13, it could be 100. You don't know, right? It leaves that open. And so usually the specificity of things like that usually means something. So I'm sitting over here thinking, like, maybe there's a secret story character, right? Because they had, was it Susanoo in Central Fiction? Was a story unlocked character. If you beat the story, you got Susanoo. You could also buy him for a trivial amount of in-game currency. But wait, could you? Or did you have to buy him for $2? Now that I think about it, I think you actually had to buy him as DLC. You either beat the story or you had to pay like $2 or $3. I don't think you could buy him in-game. Now that I'm thinking about it, whatever, doesn't matter. But was Kagura also in Chrono Phantasma? Wasn't he story unlocked as well? Anyway, point being, there used to be like unlockable characters used to be pretty prevalent in fighting games, right? And that's kind of gone by the wayside. They don't really do that anymore. Generally, the cast you have at the outset is the cast you get at the end. But one thing that kind of, I feel, lends a bit of credence to my conspiracy theory, and also just kind of, you know, something that I'm kind of curious what you all think, is that the final character that they reveal, the 12th character, is, for all intents and purposes, a clone character, right? As far as I can tell, like, I don't know 100%. I'm not going to sit here and, like, study their, like, the matches for both our seeds, study what makes them different, what kind of moves they share. All that I know is they both have the same air throw ender. That's all that I really was able to fully pay attention to. But it does seem like Red Arseed is, like, the grown-up insane, as far as I can glean from both YouTube comments and just watching the game itself, looking at the differences. It seems like Red Arseed is basically the grown-up crazy version of normal Arseed. But still, point being, they are still clone characters, more or less, right? And so it kind of surprises me that the final reveal, like, I would feel, from a marketing perspective, you would want to reveal Vlov last instead of Arseed, just because this is a new character. This is a unique character to the game, brand new, versus this is a clone character, right? For people like me who know nothing about the story of the visual novel that Melty Blood comes from, that doesn't know anything about the past of Melty Blood, which, let's be real, is a lot of people, they just see a clone character. And so you already have a bunch of the complaints, like, I don't understand these at all, I don't get it, but you're already catching a ton of complaints about how all these characters look so normal. There's nothing special about them. There's nothing interesting about them. They just look like normal people. Now, I don't get that. Personally, I would think it would be the opposite. That it would be the perfect power fantasy. Which is kind of more or less like, isn't that kind of why you're interested in a lot of these kinds of things in the first place? So, like, for me, I'm seeing a normal dude doing extraordinary things. And so in my mind, that's like, hey, I could be that dude. And I could do extraordinary things. Right? Versus you look at something like anything in BlazBlue, I'm never gonna be I'm never gonna be anybody in Melty Blood either, but you catch my meaning, right? Like, I'm looking at Tager, and it's not like, yeah, I could totally, given a certain amount of radioactivity in a very specific level, in a very specific frequency, that perfectly infests me and manipulates my DNA to turn me into a superhero. This is so stupid. But all of that, all those perfect occasions could happen, right? And they'll give me this kind of powers that you see in a fighting game that characters like Melty Blood have, where I don't change physically, but my abilities do. Versus, I guess somebody could eventually turn me into a fucking cyborg that looks like Tager, right? I guess technically, if you really do want to be technical, if you want to be asinine, like, if you want to think like a fucking idiot like I am right now, that's definitely possible. You could turn me into a cyborg that looks like Tager, for all I know. Who knows, man? That's actually probably more realistic, if we're being perfectly honest, than me getting radioactive superpowers a la Spider-Man getting bitten by a spider. Okay, so let's just skip on past that. Let's forget I said anything about that. But still, point being, like, I don't really understand why, because yes, the characters themselves have somewhat basic design, like they look like normal people, but they're anything but normal. And so it's just, that mentality confuses me. I can't fully wrap my head around it. I don't get why somebody would be like, yo, I really like the look of this game, I would really like to play it, but the characters look basic, and so I'm not interested. Like, what? The game's still good, regardless of whether or not they're over-designed trash or not. I don't get it. I'll freely admit I don't get it. I never will get it. And so we move on. But so anyway, so you already have those complaints moving forward. And then now you're looking at the final character that you reveal is a clone character. And one of the most common complaints for new fighting games, and especially new anime fighting games, is the size of the cast, right? BlazBlue caught those. Guilty Gear caught those. Skullgirls caught those. Them's Fighting Herds catches those, right? Like, any new game that comes out that has less than like 50 characters catches that. Well, why aren't there more characters in this game, right? King of Fighters right now, King of Fighters 15 is catching some of those, even though that game has, like, to be fair, that's because most of the previous King of Fighters have far more characters in it, but King of Fighters has, 39? King of Fighters 15 has 39 confirmed characters, and people are like, well, the previous games had over 50. Where are the rest of them? And it's just like, you just can't win in this scenario. But so Melty Blood's already going to be catching that from just, I don't know, the normie crowd. Do we still use the word normie? I never liked it in the first place. But that, I feel like that is the best possible word to describe what I'm trying to talk about here. Where you already have people looking at that, we're like, oh, there's only 12 characters in this game, but then they look and they see 2 redhead maids, there's 2 R-seeds, you have basic ass boy with basic ass sister. Anyway, point being is, I do feel like it brings to mind. Now let's not say it. Okay, let's just say it because I love the fucking quote, but it doesn't really apply. For those of you that watch Blade, that quote, some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. I love it. It's so good. It's so good. It's golden. Best Marvel quote, period. And you can quote me on that. But it does kind of feel like they're making it a little tough on themselves. Like they could have gone a different route with, because again, I don't know the story significance of these characters. I don't know how important they are to the overall Melty Blood lore. But plenty of people are also in the same boat, where they're just going to look at that and be like, why do so many of these characters look so similar? Why, like, where's the variation in the cast? Whatever, I'm just going to go play something else, right? I'm going to go play Guilty Gear, where all of their characters look unique and different, and I don't see any clone characters, right? Like, that's bound to happen. It's, whether or not you agree with it, it's going to happen, and so it feels kind of strange that they did save Arseed for the final, character reveal. But anyway, so did I mention that they finally released the KOUMA? Like, I've twisted and turned through what I meant to talk about so much so far that I've already forgotten. But so basically, my game plan is, because they've been posting these matches in pairs, right? I haven't watched every single one of them, but I have watched most of them. And so the way that it's working, as far as I have been able to see, is that they have so each duo wins one match, right? So they have one match where Red Arseed will win, and then they have one match where KOUMA will win, or whichever characters are there. And so they just posted the first one, so I am going to wait. Well, okay, so you're getting this Nate Talks today, right? And then I'm going to do an under night replay theater for Monday, for the day after, for technically tomorrow. God damn it, for technically tomorrow. And then I'll probably do something about Melty Blood the day after. It depends on, because they've been posting daily videos for the past like week and a half or so. And they always post at 8 p.m. Pacific time for me. And so I would like to see what they post at. So tomorrow they'll post, I assume, the second match video for this. And then the day after, which is the day that I would look to record a video of me scoping out these matches and also looking at the Miyako versus Vlov matches, they'll post another video, and I'm curious what that's going to be, or if it's even going to exist, right? Maybe they'll stop posting videos now up until the release of the game, because the game comes out on the 30th. It's very close. It's only 5 days away, which is very strange to me. I can't recall, I mean, not that I paid that close of attention, and also, what I'm trying to think, Tales of Arise came out on a Friday, didn't it? Didn't that drop on a Friday? But either way, it doesn't matter. I think that was the last game, like, that was the first game in a long time that I actually purchased on release. And so I haven't been paying that close of attention. But back when I used to, games either came out on Tuesday or Friday. And so to see a game coming out on a Thursday is kind of twisting my brain up a little bit. Doesn't fully compute. I can't, it doesn't make sense. It's supposed to come out on either a Tuesday or a Friday. And usually a Tuesday. Like, typically, again, this is just for me, for when I actually paid attention to this shit, that Nintendo games were the ones that typically dropped on a Friday, and most other games dropped on Tuesdays. So it is, I mean, to be fair, part of that also has to do with, like, PSN. The reason why is because they would update their online stores on Tuesdays. So that's why those games would come out on Tuesdays. Anyway, that has nothing to do with any of this. 5 days, man. It's so close. It's so, I mean, technically, really, because it's almost 9 p.m. for me. It actually, no, because for me, it comes out for the United States in general. Game releases are based on Eastern Standard Time, not based on Pacific. And so for me, it actually comes out in almost exactly 4 days. I get it on the 29th. I don't have to wait until the 30th, because technically it releases at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for me, it's going to release at 9 p.m. on the 29th. Booyah. Bitches, I don't got to wait till the 30th. That's West Coast privilege. Okay. I don't know. Like, I had some, what did I want to fucking, what did I want to say? It doesn't really matter. I'm super looking forward to it. I'm super hyped. But there's also that part of my brain that's just sitting here like, look how fighting games have gone recently for you. Look at, I mean, to be fair, almost all of those I could see once I started seeing gameplay. I could tell, like, ah, shit. Like, this isn't for me. I had hopes, but this isn't for me. Like, the premise was good, but I can clearly tell that this game is not designed in a way that I'm going to have fun with, right? But so just think, like, the last games that I really sat down and wanted to grind, wanted to be really good at, were BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I haven't had anything since then. What's been released since then? King of Fighters 14, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle, BlazBlue Central Fiction, Street Fighter 5, Dragon Ball Fighters, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, Samurai Showdown. I'm missing something in there. I said Dragon Ball Fighters. I'm missing something. There was one other kind of like, oh, obviously Guilty Gear Strive, but that wasn't the one that I was thinking of. Anyway, I mean, that's already, what, 10 games? And to be fair, I wasn't looking forward to every single one of them, but I was looking forward to most of them. I had decent hopes for most of them, and then they all crashed and burned for one reason or another. Whether it's just that they're, you know, SNK, test your fucking online infrastructure, please, because your online infrastructure thus far has been absolute trash. So please, for the love of God, make sure you test that as thoroughly as possible, because that's one of the things that I don't think most people understand, how easily shit goes wrong when you design things. And this isn't just with, you know, programming, it's not just with gaming, it's just designing stuff in general. People Figure out ways to fuck your day up, and you'll never see it coming. Never. There's just so many ways that things can go wrong, and I don't give a shit how good you are at your job. I do not care how intelligent you are. There are going to be unforeseen problems. And so you need to test in the broadest manner possible with the broadest amount of scenarios and setups possible so that you can get those problems ironed out early, and so they won't actually crop up during your quote-unquote official release, right? Like, and I think that's one of the reasons why we have had, I shouldn't say I think, I'm pretty fucking positive it's the reason why we've had delay-based netcode for so long, is because all of these Japanese companies are testing their games in Japan, where they all have 4-bar connections, where they're all, like, imagine for just a second if you took whatever fighting game you love, right? If you took your entire community for that, and you just shoved it into, like, a New York-sized bubble. New York City-sized bubble. I mean, I shouldn't say that because Japan's bigger than New York City, but still, point being. If you shoved it into a fairly small-ish sized area versus, the entire country of the United States, the entire continent of North America, the entire continent of Europe, all of Australia, right? Where there's so much kind of like dead space, where there's not much going on, so there's a significant distance between people and their connections, which naturally introduces latency. Physics is a problem that you just cannot solve. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but distance and light needing to travel to send these signals is a problem that you can't overcome. There's no amount of, you can't make it perfect, right? And so that's why delay-based is so bad for a lot of us, is because our communities are fairly small and we're also very widespread. That's not really an issue in Japan or just Asia specifically, where they have better internet than us in the first place, and then they also have a tighter knit community, thanks to a significantly smaller distance between all of them. So they naturally just have much better connections. And so they haven't really suffered the issues with delay-based netcode that most of us have. And so, of course, these companies, if all they're doing is testing it in that little bubble, they're not going to see the issues that we're having. They're not going to understand the issues that we're having. They're just going to wave it off as just being like, gaijin internet, who cares? Why did my accent just go Russian right there? Don't know. But still, point being, they're not going to give a shit because they're not going to understand it, right? Like, that's one of the prevalent problems with the entire goddamn world, is that people do not appreciate the issues other people go through until they themselves experience it. And so that's one of the reasons why we've had delay-based netcode for so long, is because if you head on over to Japan, they get almost nothing but 4-bar connections. Why the fuck would they think there's a problem with the netcode when that's their environment? They wouldn't. Right? And so it's the same exact thing where it's just like, you clearly have not been testing your games in a large enough environment. You need to bust out of that bubble, and you need to test them in a more, I mean, like, even just look at the current, I actually saw one of you posted on Discord. Apparently there's a meme going around right now with Guilty Gear Strive, with how long it takes to go from the title screen to the actual main screen, because you got to log into the server, right? And so there's a meme going around of people saying, like, I can do this before I can log into Guilty Gear server. So the ones you guys posted was like, you can speedrun Sonic Unleashed before you can log into Guilty Gear servers. Mustache Villain posted one about how you can do a full corner carry. For those of you that know about the Tager Gadget Finger Rapid Cancel Jump 360 C loops, never learned them myself. They're actually, like, a decent tactic to use. They look so stupid. But either way, he is able to do that. Start in one corner, pull the opponent to the other corner, restart the loop again, because you start with 100 meter, right? So it requires one rapid cancel to go from corner to corner, and then another rapid cancel to go from that corner to back to the first corner. But he's able to do that before he can log into Guilty Gear Strive, right? But if you live in Japan, boom, you're into Guilty Gear Strive. That's the entire problem with it, is that the further you are away from the server, the more time it takes you to log in. Japan doesn't have that problem, so why would they fix it, right? I'm not having that issue, so I don't give a fuck. Deal with it, bitches. You gotta test this. And you have to understand that your scenario, your situation is not the only one. And account for that. And make sure that it works for the broadest amount of people possible. There's always going to be some combination of shit that just you cannot figure out. You cannot make it interact correctly. It's going to be, you know, like if you're talking about a PC version of something, there's like the perfect storm of motherboard, GPU, CPU, fucking mouse that's and keyboard combination that's plugged into the computer alongside the monitor that it's connected to. For some reason, all of that just makes shit crash. And you cannot figure it out, and you cannot fix it, and all you can say is, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I apologize. Shit's whack, yo. Sometimes that's all you can do. But that's a very, that's a significant outlier that's not going to be happening very often. And sometimes that is what you just have to shrug your shoulders and be like, sucks to be you, man. But that's not what's happening here. It's just their one specific tiny scenario is perfect for them, and so everything else must be perfect, right? Which is not how, I mean, anybody who's ever designed anything knows that's not how shit works. So, anyway, that long-winded explanation aside, basically to say, test your shit in the broadest possible manner, which in this case is a public beta test. Much in the way that Street Fighter V did it, much in the way that Guilty Gear Strive did it. Handle your business properly and your product will flourish. Instead of just rolling the dice and being like, well, we hope this will be okay. I mean, and this is especially true, again, I hate to keep harping on SNK, but seriously, they have the fucking worst online in fighting games, and it's been that way forever. There isn't any like, oh yeah, they got some they used to have some kind of competition with Mortal Kombat, or just with NetherRealm Studios in general, but with Mortal Kombat XL, they fixed their shit. And their shit has been fixed since then. And SNK hasn't. Right? And so, you really, like, I don't know how much, I don't know anything about Mortal Kombat, right? I don't know if there were any growing pains when they first initially implemented their rollback netcode. I don't know if it took time to get it to the point where it is now, which is, from my own experience, pretty solid. Felt pretty good to play that game online. I don't know if it felt that way from the get-go, but we know from, you know, Street Fighter V that rollback, is just because you have rollback doesn't mean all the problems are solved. Just because you think you have rollback doesn't mean you're actually doing rollback correctly, Harada. So you test in the broadest possible sense. Please, for the love of God. I shouldn't have Melty Blood logo still up here because I haven't really been talking about, like, I do have a certain amount of faith in French bread, just because I assume at the very least they're comparing and contrasting notes with Arxis, right? Which they did it mostly correctly. They don't have the best, Guilty Gear Strive does not have the best rollback on the market, right? I do think Skullgirls still has that cornered. But it's undeniably one of the best fighting games online that we have. And it's certainly the most popular online fighting game that we have. So I would hope that they are intelligent enough to be like, yo, y'all got it right. Can you make sure we're getting it right? But SNK doesn't have that kind of collaboration, right? And I assume they're pretty much just off on their own, doing their own thing. Which is why it's scary, because being off on their own, doing their own thing is what has led to these issues in the first place. So anyway, enough about that. I am super hyped for Melty Blood. I'm super hyped. Like, I have not felt this way about the gameplay of a fighting game in a hot minute. And I think it will live up to it. I am a little bit disappointed. I was kind of looking forward to having the character variations that they have. It reminds me of Arcana Heart, right? Where you had so much potential variability, and because you could choose your Arcana, right? So you chose your character, then you chose the Arcana with it, and that could significantly alter the way you play the game. Same thing with the, I don't know what did they just call them lunar phases? You had the 3 different versions for each character that you could pick, and so that's not making a return, and so that is one of the reasons why I asked in the previous Melty Blood video if reverse beats are in this game, because that was a mechanic that, I mean, like one of you said, that originated in Melty Blood. But it originated in Melty Blood in one of the lunar phases. It was not consistent across, I mean, at least to my knowledge, it was not part of all three that you could pick. That was one specific feature. And so I wasn't sure if that was going to be a game mechanic of this, or if that was going to be something that just they decided not to do for whatever reason. Right? So losing those lunar phases, I don't know in the long run if that's going to be good or bad, if it is going to reduce the potential enjoyment playing this game long term, because that is what that does, right? You get good with a character using a specific lunar phase, and you're like, yo, I'm pretty good with this character now, let's try out this other one. And it potentially gives you an entirely fresh outlook on the character, refreshes the fun, and like that's one of the reasons why for me, like, I'm so bad at sticking with characters, because eventually I start playing at a level, like I've never gotten to an optimal level with any character that I've ever played, right? But I've gotten to a point where I can see, like, I'm outside knocking on the door and somebody's starting to open it and I'm about to step through, and then I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm basically already here. I don't really have all that much left to do. Let me go check out this other house down the street instead, right? That's basically my mentality when it comes to characters. And so that's why, like, I character hop so often. And so for somebody like me, that would be really good to have those different phases that you could pick and get good at, you know, all three of them. And so that's not going to be a thing. So I'm curious how it's going to impact the game, how it's going to feel. But like I said, just watching this game from a gameplay perspective, it does seem perfect. For, like I said, the pacing for it, the style of the combos so far that I've seen strike me as being fairly Marvel-esque, which is only a good thing for me personally. Like, I know there are plenty of people out there that don't like the Marvel vs. Capcom style, but I don't know. Everything that I've seen about this game so far has just increased the excitement, which is a very rare thing. Which is not, like, that hasn't, like I said, that hasn't happened since Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma. Like, I went out of my way for both of those games to go to pre-release events, because Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 actually, like, I don't know what exactly happened, but early physical copies got leaked, like, everywhere. And so a bunch of people that were, like, back when I was actually tied into the tournament community and I was traveling to tournaments, getting to know a lot of people, I got invited to a bunch of those. And I went to almost every single one that I got invited to, because I wanted to get my hands on that damn game and I wanted to play it as much as possible. I would not have done the same thing with any of the recent fighting games that have come out. But if it was possible with Melty Blood, you best believe I'd do that right now. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any physical copies. It's still not even, it's kind of weird. Let me check this out. Last time I checked, it's not even available for pre-order on Steam yet. Like, it has a page and you can add it to your wish list, which I already did, but you can't even pre-order it yet, which is super weird. I had a brief moment of panic as well when I looked it up on PSN, because I wanted to see if it is available for pre-order on PSN. But the first one that it showed me was for the deluxe edition, which is $70. And so I was instantly like, oh fuck, they're charging $70 for this? Oh dear. But that was for the deluxe edition. It's $50 for the base version of the game. But yeah, I almost had another brief moment of panic. I scrolled down. Now whenever I buy a game on Steam, there's been enough that have de novo on them that I just naturally roll down, and I look at the section that would show whether or not it has it, and I mean, I didn't read it, but it's underneath, like, all of the game's features, I guess. So it shows, like, single player, online PvP, shared / split screen PvP, Steam achievements, partial controller support. Huh. But then underneath all of that, it has, like, little brown boxes of stuff that include DRM, EULA, stuff like that. And so that's what's right here. It requires agreement to a third-party EULA. But so I saw that and I was like, oh, motherfucker, does this game have de novo? Because if it did, I would not buy it. I've also heard, apparently moving forward, Sony wants to include de novo on their PS5 releases. Which I should actually say, I mean, apparently it's been possible to do that on PS4 versions of the games too. It's just nobody's fucking done that. Because it's probably just not worth it for, like, think of how many people own consoles versus how many people have actually jailbroken those consoles to allow them to pirate stuff on them, right? Probably not worth it. Versus PC, where you don't have to do anything special. to do that kind of stuff. But I saw a story about how Sony was seeking to try to get more people to use Denuvo. I don't know if it was true or not. I just saw it, and of course, me being as anti-Denuvo as I am, takes it as the absolute truth. It's ruining the PS5. But I should actually do more research into that, just to be sure, because I don't want to buy a PS5. I don't want a PS5 if a bunch of their games are going to start having Denuvo moving forward. I don't want that. But anyway, there's no point in me getting into Denuvo. Like I said, man, it's just 5 days. 4. Get it in your head, man. It's 4 days away. It's so close. It's just creeping around outside my house right now, trying to find a way in, and I'm trying to get it to come in. If you've all ever had a pet, you know, like anybody that's ever had a pet, surely you've had that moment where it's like you let them outside, they're running around, they're having fun, they don't want to stop running around, stop having fun, and so you try to get them inside, they're just like, no! I'm staying right here, playing in the grass, where I belong. Go fuck yourself. And so now you got to try to coax them inside. That's what I'm doing right now with Melty Blood. Come on. Come inside. Let me play. I'll play with you, but I'll play with you inside. I'm allergic to the sun. I'm a gamer. I want it to be out, man. I've waited so goddamn long for a fighting game that I'm excited for, that I'm really looking forward to, and I'm gonna be patient about it too. I'm sitting here staring at my YouTube subscription, my front page, and I got. Let me refresh this so I get rid of the videos that I out of, let's see, that's 8 out of 8 videos that I currently have. 5 of them are Melty Blood. 4 matches. Oh, that's right. The second Noel vs. Roa. So 4 matches and then the Red RC battle preview. And the other one's a Central Fiction arcade VOD. One's binging with Babish. Babish? I think it's Babish, actually. And then an Adam Jensen song. If you like rock music and you've never heard of Adam Jensen, highly recommend. Check him out. It's really good. If I had to give you a starter, what would I go if I had to give you a starter for him? I'm a Sucker for a Liar in a Red Dress is sick. The one that got me into it, I'm blanking on. Let me just Google it real quick, so I can give you all something to start. So you have something. Nope. Friend of the Devil is a really good. I mean, almost all, like, this is Adam Jensen is a rare case for me of somebody who is. I like almost all the songs that I've heard. Not every single one, but I would say a good 90% of the music that I've heard. I can hold a grudge like nobody's business. That's the big one. But almost all the music that I've heard from him, I just greatly enjoy. Whereas a lot of people, it's kind of the opposite. Where, like, I'll enjoy maybe around 20 to 30% of their music, and then the rest of it is just, you know, not really my thing. But his is, again, one of the rare cases where I'm a fan of almost all of it. So yeah, check it out if you want to. Melty Blood needs to come out so I can fanboy even harder. Anyway, I'm out. Thank you all. Peace.